program manager at the Asian Arts and Culture Center at Towson University, and also co-curator of the Asian North exhibit, which I know most of you have seen it over at 16 West North Avenue, and also this here in the lobby of Motor House is also the rest of the exhibit. Motor House has been a great partner of the Asian North Festival since we began in 2019. We've been co-presenting with Central Baltimore Partnership. So the main organizers are Asian Arts and Culture Center at Towson University, and Central Baltimore Partnership, and Motor House has been here from the beginning. So thank you so much for having us. This is actually the first time we've done an artist talk here for Asian North, and I'm very excited to hear from the artists more about their work. And I want to hand it over to, first, there are people that I want to thank and supporters that I want to thank, as long as I can unlock my phone. So, and this festival, this month-long festival wouldn't be possible without our partners and sponsors. So, Asian Arts and Culture Center at TU, Central Baltimore Partnership, Station North Arts District, Motor House, Maryland State Arts Council, William G. Baker Jr. Memorial Fund, Citizens of Baltimore County, the Towson University BTU Presidential Priority, Baltimore Changwon Sister City Committee, Korean American Foundation, Greater Washington, Barangay Baltimore, Baltimore Shaman Sister City Committee, Baltimore Kawasaki Sister City Committee, NAP Baltimore, Baltimore Improv Group, Night Owl Gallery, Johns Hopkins Medicine, Asian and Pacific Islander Employee Resource Group and Allies, who co-hosted our reception this evening, and Critical Responses to Anti-Asian Violence, CRAVE. And so that last group, I wanted to put a plug in for a community visioning session next Monday, the 20th, over at 16 West North Avenue. We're all coming together to make sure that we document the local AAPI history and make sure it doesn't get lost. And we're all pooling our resources to work together. And I also wanted to take a moment to honor two artists who passed away. If you were at the opening, you've already heard this, but two of our Asian North artists, Nikun Manda and Josh Nguyen, passed away in the past month. And also my co-curator, Rayne Artis's grandmother, Patricia Thompson, also passed away recently. So just wanted to take a moment of silence to honor them and remember them. Thank you. And now I wanted to introduce my co-curator, who came up with this brilliant theme for Asian North this year. We've been wanting to work with my artist for a long time, and it finally came to fruition. And in some of our meetings, we discovered all these, friends in common, and just, he has deep roots in Baltimore, and I was born and raised here. We were both born and raised here. And so it's just been a gift to be able to work with Ryan and also put out this call and receive your amazing work. So thank you, and I will pass it off to Ryan Martins.
Oh, thanks everyone. Let's give a huge round of applause for Nerissa. What I really want to do is really that list of Asian organizations that she listed is not it might not be the most glamorous list to hear, it might be kind of boring to listen to, but that kind of visible representation, that was a huge list of Asian organizations. As a lifelong Asian resident of Baltimore, we are very present here and we are very invisible. And so that amount of visibility is just so exciting to see. So Welcome to the Artist Talk with Love Letters to Baltimore and the DMV, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit, really briefly, about my own letter writing practice before I kind of contextualize it in this exhibit when we get into the artist talks. I've been writing since I was 7. In 1989 was when I started writing, and probably before that, but that's like the written records I have that's dated. And one of the things I wrote besides journals was letters to my grandmother, Patricia Thompson. I've been writing for her since the 80s, 90s. And as I prepare for her memorial service on Saturday, I'm writing her a letter every day. It's kind of become my new routine. I write a letter every day for the week leading up to whoever's memorial service that might be mourning. And it's a great practice to kind of get in touch with my own emotions and also this person who is no longer here. I can't get in touch with physically, but I can get in touch with through my letters. So that's that's like a practice I'm immersed in this week. This is one of my journals. One of my letter writing practices, I write a letter to myself on the 1s of every month. So on the 1st, the 11th, the 21st, and if there's the 31st, the 7 months there's the 31st. And then on the 2s of the month, I write myself a list, but that's not a letter. So that's not what we're here to talk about. And then the other one, the third letter writing, I'm just going to share with you, because I'm immersed in a huge letter writing practice. I could talk to you the entire hour about my letters, and I'm not going to do that. But the third one is in this journal actually from a friend from India, a white friend who brought me from India. And as an adoptee, being brought from India by white people, things being brought from Asia by white people is of very significance to me because I was a thing brought from Asia to a white person by a white person. And so I'm writing these letters to India, to these aspects of India. So Love Letters to Baltimore is deeply rooted in my practice, and I was so excited to see everyone's participation and engagement with the theme of Love Letters to Baltimore and the DMV. Because writing letters, just like this exhibition, is an act of care. And it's also an offering of love. But the thing about letters is that they're personal. One person writes a letter, usually to be sent to one person who reads the letter. And then a lot of times people who write and receive letters to cherish letters, I was talking with some people and maybe you're not actively engaged in the process of writing letters, but you've kept your letters. So in a way you're kind of actively engaged in the act of writing letters because you've kept the letters you've written. In this exhibition, our letters are on full display. And they're not just written works, they're in the form of, none of the art's present in this room, I'm just looking at all the beautiful art, but it's in the lobby of this, and all the art we're going to be talking about is actually in the gallery at 16 West North Ave. And these letters, these love letters, they're expressions of vulnerability. And these expressions of vulnerability are precisely what lead us into community, and what bring us into community. And in community, what do we find? We find love and care. And so these letters are a way to carry us into community, because these letters are an act of love and care. They carry us into community, into embodied, in-person communities where we can receive love and care and actuality. And so a tip is, if you need love and care and you can't have it, just keep writing letters to yourself, and you will write yourself into that love and care. And so that's the framework of our talk. Some folks, some of the artists are going to speak using the framework of letter writing to discuss their art. Some artists are going to speak about their art as they feel called to do so. I'm going to run the artist talk like an open mic, so I'll let you know who's on deck and who's coming up, and who's on and who's on deck. So if you're on deck, that means you're up next. And I'm sorry I didn't give Adrianna warning, but you're on deck. So, can I pass the mic to you? Do you want to come up here? You want to sit down there? Yeah, right on. I love you to sit up here. Yeah, I know.
Everyone. So just to keep with the timing, I'm a little strict here. So my name is Adrianna Morgan, and I'm a wearable and installation artist, but sometimes I just want to paint. I went to Baltimore School for the Arts and then attended Towson University, where I dual
majored in interdisciplinary object design, Spanish, and minored in business. My artwork is mainly influenced by my experience as a Caribbean American, and this allows me to connect with and share my heritage. My parents are from Trinidad and Tobago. They immigrated here over 20 plus years ago. I am racially mixed, but I am predominantly of Indo-Caribbean descent. So with respect to the letter writing theme of the exhibition, I was thinking about the elements of what goes into letter writing. I will say I am not a writer, as Rayne is. Although being an artist, I've had to do so for proposals and, descriptions and statements and things like that. But visual arts has been my primary way of communication, and here in the form of a painting. So I was thinking about the elements, like I said, and one thought that I had was about the movement of a letter. So whether that's like the physical movement, it's going from one place to another, or virtually one place to another. And here my painting is all about movement. It's about this macaw kite flying in the sky. It's about, or I was thinking about flights between the Caribbean and the United States, and then within the macaw wings itself, I depict, thank you, Nerissa, I depict the path in which my family has moved throughout Baltimore City into Baltimore County. And then another aspect of letter writing that I thought about was, Rayne also alluded to this, was letters becoming a keepsake in a way. So this is one of my favorite childhood memories. I no longer have this kite physically, so to me this is very, reverent of this activity that I used to do with my parents, that they would take the time out of their busy days supporting me, me and our family, newly up and coming in the United States. So it's just something that's, of meaning to me, but also generally speaks to the concept of memories and that memory retention, as well as how you perceive or remember that memory as well, because it tends to fade or morph and things of that nature. Another concept I thought about when it comes to letter writing is the to and from. So with this piece, it's between me and my parents. It's also between me as an older version of my younger self, and a conversation between two different countries. I will say, just specifically, I have Trinidad and Tobago in the corner of the painting here, but the majority of the image itself is a zoom in of Baltimore County and Baltimore City. And then lastly, and most importantly, when it comes to writing a letter, is the intent. Like, why are we writing this? What are we doing this for? So with my painting, it was expressing reverence for this memory and quality time that I spent with my parents, but also acknowledging the layers that come with identity and cultural pride, combined with the pride felt where one resides. So for me, that's being a proud Indo-Caribbean Trinidadian who was born and raised in Baltimore. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anna, you're up, and Gabriel, you're on it.
Hey y'all, my name is Anna Divinagracia. I am a multidisciplinary artist, and I was born in the Philippines. So my piece here actually depicts that, but I'll get into that in a second. And then I was raised in Baltimore. I moved here when I was 12, turning 13. So I kind of have this like half and half experience of my identity, where half of it was, childhood in the Philippines, and the other half is like teenhood, adulthood, just like the actual character making. And I didn't really think about this artist talk in the form of a letter, but I just wanted to talk about my art. So my piece here is called Saan Ka Man Naroon, Carry Me Across the Sea, and it essentially it's not context, but like it depicts the community as far as how it forms identity. And I feel like whenever I think about Baltimore, that's kind of what I get, is a lot of like who I am now is because of the people that helped raise me here. especially considering most of my family is in the Philippines. Depicted here is a traditional bahay kubo, which is essentially a nipa hut house that is traditional to the Philippines, and it is sat on top of bamboo that traditionally, in the spirit of bayanihan, which means essentially community in Tagalog, it's their way of showing community. Whenever the whole neighborhood moves, everybody gets together and moves the house together so that everybody gets to stay together wherever they go. And I made this house using a balikbayan box, which I don't know if the other immigrants here can have the same experience, but we do this tradition of filling up a box with American goods, foreign goods, wherever you're from, and sending it back home as a sign of your love and, for everybody that's at home. So I wanted to depict essentially community in a diasporic experience and what that looks like for somebody that is uprooted from their own home. And another theme that I always look into my practice is like home and what that looks like as an immigrant, as somebody that doesn't feel like she has a home, right? Like, I moved here when I was 12, but ever since I've been in Baltimore, I've kind of moved around a lot too. Similar to you, where like, landed here in the city, then moved to the county, then back to the city, then all around the city. So I always felt like a big theme of my life is packing up boxes, and I'm like, wanted to show that within my work, and I just like think about what Baltimore means for me, and I feel like a lot of that reflects Filipino culture in the sense of a lot of what it really is the community aspect of things and your experience of it and how you build that. And then in the middle is spam, which is really, really big in Filipino culture. It's really, really good, even if it's really, really bad for you. But within making this piece, I actually ended up looking into spam so much. Like, I looked into like the history of spam. And apparently where spam is made, there is a spam museum. Yeah, there's a spam museum. And in the spam museum, they actually have a wing that's specifically centered around Filipino's history to spam and how it's very much so widely used within the immigrant aspect of always sending it home. But it started from World War II, from American occupations in the Philippines and how they traded spam, because they didn't like spam, traded that with like natural resources for the Filipinos, and then we got hooked on spam. But yes, this is my art, and I think this is also my time.
A big theme of my life is packing up boxes. Ooh. And I'm with her one more line. I want to be sending a box of foreign goods home as an actor. That was so beautiful. And then a couple from yours, Adrianna, not a writer, speaking so poetically. Visual art is my primary mode of communication, mapping routes of movement from Baltimore City to Baltimore County, recreation of memory with art. All right, Gabriel. And on deck, I have Jinyoung.
Hi, I'm Gabriel Pilac Melendres, and I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I didn't really intend to this be a letter to Baltimore or anything. I shot it in Baltimore, and most of my life was spent in the Philippines, and I arrived in Baltimore just right before the pandemic started, and so I didn't really get to explore Baltimore. And every time I would visit my friends from back home in other states or cities, they would always ask me where I'm from. And I say like, oh, I'm from Baltimore. And they would always respond with, they don't ask about anything else, crabs or anything. The first question that they ask is there gators there? And I always just, no, yes, we have problems, but you'll never know where the safest place is. And I'm glad that I actually took the time to know this city by foot and with my scooter. So you'll see me around in the city, scooting around and taking pictures. And that's how I took this picture. And one of my favorite quotes of photography, I forgot who said it, even though it's my favorite, but it's, the camera does what you cannot do, which is stop time. And when I saw this, it's just coming from her speech and her work. It's so deep, and to be honest, your work made me cry so much. And it resonated to me in really, really deep level, just with the title. That's why I went back last Friday to just like, read up on the art and just like appreciate everybody's work. So thank you for all of your creativity and just being in this, offering what you have through your experiences. So yeah, then I saw this. This is one of my favorite parts of the city, just by being by the water. And I always just go here, hence the title, Things That I Harbor. Every time I feel homesick, I would go by the harbor and just hearing the water. I know it's not a shore, it's not a beach, but just being near by the water. And I don't know if you guys know, the Philippines is made up of 7,107 islands, and even more when it's low tide. So we're an archipelago, and to me, it's so wild that the United States, even though it's just two countries, right? It borders two countries. And back home, we don't border anybody. We don't even border ourselves. That's why it's so, that's why hence the title, Things That I Harbor, and just like watching these people when I saw it, this is Baltimore. The people, the rawness of the rust that you see everywhere. It's just this guy, doing something with his bike, and just another guy that is chilling on the left. And what's so nice about it that I just noticed is that his shirt is actually the same color of like the bottom of the ship. So yeah, and just like another couple here, assuming they're a couple, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term sonder. It's just this, you realizing that every single person that you come across the street, random person, is living a complex life, just like yours. And that's just what I do when I do photography. And I don't have a style yet per se, but I just love to go back to my philosophy, which is like the camera does, what you cannot do, which is stop time. And I don't think this will be ever recreated again. And this is kind of like my letter to the people here and the people back home, that I now still live in a peaceful and loving and beautiful place, just like back home, even though it's a lot different. I miss all the roads still lead back home, but I'm proud that I can say that I'm from Baltimore, even though it's still a loaded question when somebody asks me, where are you from? Right? So yeah, that's why if you view my work, I'm probably the only one that doesn't have a write-up, because I don't want to take away your attention from the photograph. Because to me, I don't want it to be so deep. I just want you to look at it. And throughout my life, I've missed a lot of things just because I failed to look. So, yeah. Okay.
A lot of times I missed things because I failed to look. At the same time, all roads lead back home. Anna's work made me cry. The camera does what you cannot do, which is stop time. You're only so profound you don't even know. Did I say Jinyoung, are you on deck? And Kat, are you in the building yet?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, cool, sorry. I knew you had things at school, so I wanted to make sure you're here. You're on deck, Kat. Here you go, Jinyoung.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for the opportunity. And this is my work. It's oil painting. And yeah, I'm a graduate program director and assistant professor at Towson University. And when I was 26, I first came to the United States from Korea. I had language barriers and cultural differences. It's hard to stay, and I struggled to, adopt some new culture here. And my oil painting, the title, realistically impossible to make a pure straight line outside of scientific and mathematical parameters, intertwines with the theme of this exhibition by delving into the concept of home and the nuances of identity. When pondering the question, where are you from, the notion of home becomes pivotal. Just as my piece explores the limits of achieving perfection in straight lines, the idea of home often transcends physical boundaries and manifest in myriad ways. Whether Baltimore DMV is one's original home or not, the exhibit prompts a reflection on the differences between where individuals originate and where they currently reside. Home for many embodies a complex blend of affection and critique, much like the way one might view my work with an acknowledgement of its inherent impossibility. This love or tough love for home not only influences perception, but also inspires action, motivating individuals to enhance their surroundings and foster thriving communities. Through my broad strokes, I strive to encapsulate the timeless essence of Korean culture while navigating the impermanence of existence and identity, honoring the enduring legacy of craftsmanship and the transformative power of artistic expression. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Jinyoung. Idea of home transcends physical boundaries. Home embodies complex landscapes of affection. Okay. Oh, and on deck, I didn't mean to grab that back. I feel like that was so rude. Is Priyanka.
Hi everyone, my name is Navarro. I'm an animator and an interdisciplinary artist. My practice is right now rooted in installation work, and my narratives often are about memory and identity. I was born in Baltimore, and my family immigrated from the Philippines. They started to immigrate in the 80s, which is an important part to say started. And Kalapati Without a House is just it's like a piece of a larger installation titled When You Arrive. And that was my MFA thesis exhibition. And Kalapati Without a House, Kalapati means pigeon or dove, but in this context it's a pigeon. And the story is, which is what is the audio of my uncle and my grandmother speaking, is their last memories of the Philippines. And my uncle speaks about the pigeons that they raised, and they in the week of them leaving the Philippines, they had to sell the pigeons, but because they have a homing thing, they kept coming back home. And so my grandfather had to tear the pigeon house down, and in tearing it down, the pigeons kept coming back, but less and less of them kept coming back home because they realized, oh, we don't have a home anymore. And so my uncle's last memories were watching the pigeons that they raised come back less and less until it was the last two pigeons that they first raised were the last two ones he saw before leaving. And I thought that was an incredible story when he was saying it. And the funny part was he wasn't really realizing that how it parallels them leaving the Philippines, which they no longer have their home there anymore. And I think, being raised in Baltimore, but, going back home to the Philippines and being raised, listening to their stories, I feel like I'm living in this in-between space of Baltimore and the Philippines. So, and the house is the Bahay Kubo, which Anna beautifully described. It's about community, and but for me, it's like growing up here, it's like Bahay Kubo is like a children's song, right? Not really necessarily the symbol of community. And like me, researching more about the Bahay Kubo, which we have that's like a miniature that was in my house, and researching it, I learned it's about community. But being raised in Baltimore in the 90s, there weren't quite many Filipinos yet, and so like my community was my family. But as you grow older, your family passes on and your community gets smaller. And so it's like the hands like slowly tearing down the house is like, we're kind of like breaking down community. The hands leaving is like your community leaving, but it kind of reassembles back around as like a cycle, as like new community, new life, and things like that. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So who did I say? Priyanka, and I have Rayko on deck. Yeah. Or do you want to stand back there?
No.
Okay.
Hearing everyone talk about this letter aspect kind of got me thinking. I didn't come here with a prepared speech, but I'm just going to tell you the story of how this sketchbook grew. So I landed up in Baltimore like pretty late. I was 28. I came here for grad school, and I got accepted into the program I was in because I've been already creating work around community and identity and politics in India, which is where I'm from. And then that art school thing happened where I got here and I was working on all of these projects that were contextual. They were, about my heritage and about my culture and about my history. And then, that little pushback that happens when you're in a space that's trying to put you into a box, and then you stick 1, 2 out and you're like, there's other stuff I can do, check this out, there's other stuff. And what ended up happening was, also simultaneously I was using the sketchbook as a way to orient myself to life in Baltimore and in the US, right? And for me it worked easier than a photograph in many ways because much like letter writing, a lot of it is recording, a lot of it is processing what you're feeling and then kind of translating all of these things you're taking in and then spitting it out in front of you, right? And that's what I was doing, and I was also using it as a way to go to places and hang out in the city and kind of look for street culture and look for, community-based culture, which is so huge back home, and I was kind of missing it here, right? And then this eventually ended up being part of my thesis project that I started working on, and it got me thinking about cities, and I kind of worked in the sketchbook a lot because I was trying to think of what it means to be a flaneur, of someone who actually doesn't fit in, who's kind of walking aimlessly through a space that isn't your own with just the aim of recording and nothing else. There's no agenda. You're not really trying to provide any additional context. You're not trying to provide commentary. There's no judgment. You're just recording as you see in front of you. And that's what I ended up doing. And this, to me, I right now when I was thinking about it, I was like, oh yeah, this is kind of, my into the city in many ways. This is my Baltimore sketchbook. It's been going since 2019. The last page I draw in it will be the day I leave the city, and I intend to keep it going till then. So everything you're seeing here, who remembers the crown when it had the red room? A lot of this was also ways for me to learn to do these things in a solitary way. I'm new in Baltimore. I'm just I'm going to take myself out. I'm going to draw, and then people notice that and come up to you, and then that's how you make friends, right? So in many ways, the sketchbook gave me a lot, and I would say, it kind of wrote back to me in many ways. And I really enjoy how it's going, and to me, because it was such an inward-gazing, personal kind of project, it's weird that this has also ended up being the one that has been exhibited in the city or by Baltimore-based spaces the most. And it's really sweet. I enjoy it. This is one of, I do so much as an art professional, that people don't really see because I work as an illustrator and I work in a commercial art space. But this project is what I think of as something that's my own, and it's something that, kind of we give each, me and my sketchbook, we kind of give to each other a lot and, kind of nurture each other and our experiences. And when I look at these things, sometimes it doesn't have writing or anything in there, but I know where I was and what I was doing. And so as a centering exercise, as a way to get to know the city, it's helped me so much. But, yeah.
Thank you. Well, let me read some of my notes because they're all being profound. I'll go over this a little more at the end, but back to Kat. Just thinking of pigeons and migration and how we domesticated pigeons for our communication and to carry letters and then dropped them, And we consider them like rats of the street, but all pigeons know how to do is trust us. The pigeons kept coming back less and less down to the last two. Saw the last two leading parallels between leaving the Philippines, listening to stories in between space, tearing down and leaving into rebuilding. And from Priyanka, a way to connect with community and street culture, thinking about cities, what it means to be someone who doesn't fit in and is just recording what you see in front of you. My sketchbook gave me a lot and wrote back to me in many ways. All right, Rieko, and on deck I have Yeeve.
Hi, my name is Rieko. Thank you so much for including my artwork in the exhibition, and thank you, Nerissa and Rayne, for curating this show. So my artwork title is Love plus Home plus Baltimore. I made this digital collage based on the theme of this exhibition, Love Letter to Baltimore, a tribute to the theme of home, belonging and love. I'm from Japan, but I have lived in Baltimore for a longer time than I spent in my home country. My family was made in Baltimore. By the way, I have 3 sons, so though Baltimore is known as Charm City and attracts many tourists with pretty spots, it's a hard-working industrial city, resilient to oppression and tragedy. On the Interstate Highway 95, when my family travels home from out of state, my husband would say, "It smells like Baltimore. We are home." From all the chemical burnt smells from chimneys and factories around 95. We experienced the Black Lives Matter riot here in Baltimore because we are soulful and compassionate. Unless you are emotionless, how could you not react to such tragedy? I am not validating the vandalism that happened in the riot, but Baltimore was hungry for justice. It was the reaction stemming from a righteous anger for our fellow citizen, George Floyd. I'm proud of Baltimore because this city is not heartless, but passionate. We are honest, lively, tenacious people who enjoy living here.
Thank you, and Yeeve, you're last, but not least at all. Here you go.
Hi, I'm Yeeve. My parents are Korean and I was born in Baltimore, but I have not lived here. So I believe that we're eternal beings and that our stories are vast, that they go beyond this body, this life. And I'm actually really feeling that as I'm hearing all of you. I'm so moved. But this painting was, when I think of home, like many of you, I have a lot of the theme of like not belonging anywhere, but mostly it comes up with my own body. And so this is an exploration of like, why is it so hard to know what I desire? Like, why do I feel like I don't know who I am? And I get confused. And it was coming up around sexuality and men. And so I had copied like faces of men around my pelvic area. And I work with moon blood. I do like ritual kind of stuff as a way to reclaim my body. It's like the first anointing before holy water or anything like that. It was the blood of life. And as I put blood on top of those faces of these men that I had kind of betrayed myself for, it started to look like a womb. And then I put these tiles up that represented like my connection with my ancestors and both the support and the trauma. And then I had these like other tiles, different shapes, different colors that I put in the womb. And I felt like, oh, this is like the breaking up and the chaos that brings something totally fucking new. And then I added flowers. So during this whole journey, I do like Akashic work and I connect with past lives and such. And I was shown that I was a baby in many lives that was killed because I was a girl. And that theme, right, of like not being as good as a boy, especially in Asian cultures, I've experienced that in this life too. But anyway, those dried flowers represented those lives of these babies, these unlived lives that they never actually die, but they didn't fully get the chance to like bloom. And so it's about recreating from what's there and seeing how whatever I experience as like not belonging or confusion is actually a testament of all of these multicolored threads that make up my story and our story. Thank you.
Can you zoom all the way out on this one, Lisa? Let's just leave it here. I mean, unless you want to flip through. But Nerissa, thank you so much for so thoughtfully guiding us through the photos. It was actually like I was really kind of bummed out that we weren't in the gallery with the actual art, but the way that you kind of like really carried us through the art really almost was better than being in the gallery. So thanks for like doing that for me. That was like a love letter to me. You don't even know y'all. So I hope you all realize how deeply profound you are. And I'm trying to write and actually just give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. So there was a few things I was thinking about how to wrap this up. I've been taking copious notes. One thing I was going to do was write something on the fly, which I did, but I'm going to instead just read the notes, because all of you are so profound. Just going to read what I wrote down. And that'll be how we wrap this up. Exactly what I thought would happen happened. The art was all in conversation with each other. All of you wrote love letters, whether or not you realize it. And hopefully my notes will show you how. Adrianna, come fly with me. Wearable installation artist. Sometimes, oh yeah, that's cool, perfect. I'll give you a second to get back there. Take your time, take your time. We're like ahead of time. 8:18, we have 12 minutes, y'all. We're gonna end at 8:30. Adrianna, come fly with me. Sometimes I just want to debate. Indo-Caribbean descent, not a writer. Visual art is my primary mode of communication. The physical movement of a letter. Painting is all about movement. Thinking of flights, mapping routes of movement from Baltimore City to Baltimore County, recreation of childhood memory. I no longer have this kite. Recreation of memory with art, memory retention, perception and remembrance of memory, to and from of letter writing. This piece is a conversation between me and my parents, me and myself, and it is rooted in place. Intentionality of letter writing is mirrored in my intentionality of painting. Thank you so much for your art and your intelligence. Anna, carrying me across the sea. Movement to and within Baltimore. Who I am now is because of the people who helped raise me here. Show and statement of community. Sending a box of foreign good homes as an act of love. Community as a diasporic experience. Someone who feels like they don't have a home. A big theme of my life is packing up boxes. So relatable, Anna. What Baltimore means for me reflects Filipino culture and the community aspect of things. Researched history of Spam for this piece. Spam Museum features Filipino history with Spam. History started with occupation. Gabriel, things that I harbor. Where is everything? Oh, there's her. didn't consider this a letter. Arrived in Baltimore right before quarantine. Is it dangerous here? I'm glad I took the time to know this city by foot and scooter. How I took this photo. The camera does what you cannot do, which is stop time. Anna's work made me cry. I went back last Friday to read up on the art and appreciate it. I'll be there Saturday evening too, if anyone wants to join me in the gallery, just so you know, from 6 to 8. Going to the harbor, I went back last Friday. This is one of my favorite places in the city. It's one of my favorite places in the city. I love that place where Gabriel. Go to the harbor when I feel homesick, experience of hearing the water. Back home, we don't border anyone. We don't even border ourselves. This is Baltimore. Rawness, rush, observations of the composition of the photo. Every person is living a complex life, just like yours. Love that observation. This will never be recreated. At the same time, all roads lead back home. Jinyoung, realistically impossible. Jinyoung, I wanted just to write down your speech verbatim. And so I was listening, and so I took the least amount of notes. It was fascinating. Realistically impossible to make a pure straight line outside of scientific or mathematical parameters. Inspired by a poem, idea of home transcends physical boundaries. Home embodies complex landscape of affection, timelessness versus permanence. Cat Navarro, Kalapati without a house. Born in Baltimore, family migrated here. Pigeon or dove, here means pigeon. Last memories of the Philippines, had to sell pigeons and tear down pigeon house. Pigeons kept coming back, less and less, down to the last two. Saw the last two leaving, parallels between leaving Philippines, listening to stories, in between space, tearing down and leaving into rebuilding. Priyanka K, Baltimore sketchbook. Already worked in identity, community, politics. Using sketchbook to orient myself to life in Baltimore and the US, more effective than writing for me. A way to connect with community and street culture, thinking about cities, what it means to be someone who doesn't fit in and is just recording as you see in front of you. Introduction to the city, record and remember moments in time, a way to take myself out. Ooh, what a love letter, you know? My sketchbook gave me a lot and wrote back to me in many ways. Exhibited by Baltimore-based spaces the most. This project is something I think of as my own. Me and my sketchbook give a lot to each other, a way to get to know the city. Rieko, I'm sorry, I keep pronouncing your name, I'm so sorry.
Rieko, like echo again, like Rieko.
Rieko. Thank you for the pronunciation guide, I appreciate that, Rieko. No, I'll never forget it. Love and home in Baltimore. Made based on the theme of the exhibition, which I appreciate so much. Thank you so much. That is beautiful. I've been here longer than in my home country of Japan. My family was made in Baltimore. Conflicting landscapes of Baltimore. It smells like Baltimore. We experienced the Black Lives Matter riot here in Baltimore. Baltimore was hungry for justice, a righteous anger. I'm proud of Baltimore. This city is not heartless. We enjoy living here. Yeeve, Rayne, the rebirth of the golden butterfly queen. We couldn't have come up with this order better, y'all. It was just the order people signed up. We are eternal beings. Our stories are vast. Thinking of all of you. Why is it so hard to know what I desire around sexuality and men? I work with moon blood as a way to reclaim my body. Blood of life, men I had betrayed myself for, started to look like a womb. Connection with ancestors. Breaking up and chaos that brings something totally fucking new. experience of past lives. I was a baby who was killed because I was a girl. Flowers represent unlived lives, never got a chance to fully bloom, recreating from what's already there. Confusion as a testament of composition of story. I couldn't have said it better myself. So I'm not going to try to do so. Thanks all for joining us here tonight. Nerissa, Joanna, do you want to say something before we...
I was wondering if anybody has questions for each other.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, we have 5 minutes. Let's ask some questions, y'all.
So, and I have a mic here.
Testing. Any questions from the audience
Or just
the artists?
comments. Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you to all the artists. I feel like this has been the most vulnerable and emotional artist talk and you know, collection of work. So thank you, Nerissa. Thank you, Ryan, for it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks for your expressions of vulnerability. It makes it everything.
Thank you so much. And if you haven't already done so, especially if you are not one of the artists, but also a visitor, we have a survey for you to fill out because, you know, we can't do these programs without, you know, Joanna writes a lot of the grants and also your feedback from artists and also people who attend our programs is very important. We do it for all of you, and this has been a very special exhibit, and just thank you again to Ryan for letting us use his idea and really working with me to curate this show. And I just loved how you really took the time, you took such wonderful notes, and it was so, you know, your talents as a writer and just a presenter and poet. We don't often get the chance to just revisit right away and like exactly what we hear, like really absorb it all and process. And so the timing of it, the flow was very, it gave us time to digest everything. And so thank you so much for doing that. I love kind of how organically this all came about too. That's all I have to say. And thank you all. Do you have anything else to say?
Words. Thanks, Nerissa. I appreciate that recognition because it might look easy, but this was hard as shit. It's really hard to do. It's emotionally, mentally, and physically draining. My body's exhausted, but I love it. You know, I love doing this because if we don't have these conversations, the conversation's only happening up here, and this way it gets to happen. Like, there's so many connections. Like, watching the understanding on everyone's faces was just like, it's like a treat of being up here. And so I just can't thank you enough in return, Nerissa, for how thoughtful and intentional and thorough you are. So thanks for being our mama duck. That's an
Anytime. All right, thank you. And another round of applause.
I love the title